So welcome to, it's the weekend, brackets nearly, Jornada 20, I think, match day 20. That down there at the bottom of your screen, that down there is infamous football talent, man about town and wit, Pete the Interceptor Jensen. Paul Hennon is with us, as Will is with us, Phil is with us. I'm with us, apparently it says on the screen. And all jesting aside, and I don't know if that really counted as jesting, but
Trevor jesting.
I'm going to Trevor jesting. We move from football to cricket immediately. I'm in a pretty ebullient mood because the day has dawned. It's not raining as it was supposed to be. I'm in the middle of my raisins and Special K. And this is a look forward to issues of the weekend or memories that this weekend's game generate for us both. But first of all, undoubtedly the story of the week has been the sacking of Alonso. We've covered that. The appointment of Arbeloa and to some degree his defeat last night because, as he said himself in his press conference, failure is only one giant step towards success. So
Did he really say that?
he really did say that.
He'd also said, I'd do it all the same again. Surely you wouldn't leave Rodrigo, Chalmany, Bellingham, knowing that you're going to get knocked out. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, guys.
He broke into mistakes. I've made a few, but then again, too many to win this. What we've got today in Pete is somebody who, on a number of occasions, has interviewed Arbeloa more than I have, but we both met him, we've both assessed him. So let me start, Pete, by saying, just try and people I think have maybe read about him, our socios have watched him play football for Liverpool or Deportivo La Coruña or Real Madrid and Spain occasionally. Describe the personality of the Alvaro Arbeloa that you know.
Well, I think the image that's sort of coming across is that he's a Mourinho clone, he's a Mourinho disciple. And the two times that I interviewed him was coming towards the end of his career, which I think says something about him because I think he knew that he wanted to go into coaching, and so he started opening up to do more interviews, which he hadn't maybe done earlier in his career. And he is a Mourinho fan. He said that Mourinho in the first couple of years at Real Madrid was like a bulletproof vest for the players. He would defend them absolutely whatever. And no surprise last night that Arbeloa defended his players after they'd gone out in the cup. He also said that if a player burns out in his third season under Mourinho, well, that's the player's fault. It's not Mourinho's fault. So he does love Mourinho. There's no question about that. But I think it's important to point out that he's not a sort of meathead radical. He's not a blinkered disciple at the expense of all else. He spoke in both. I did 2 interviews with him, and he spoke very generously about Manuel Pellegrini, which you wouldn't do if you were just, Mourinho stamped on the back of your head sort of thing. And I think he was very appreciative of the way Pellegrini tried to get the team to play. So I don't think the football will necessarily, once he's up and running, be Mourinho-esque in terms of sitting deep, low block, waiting for the opposition to make a mistake, score 1 goal, don't concede and win the game that way. I think he'll be more expansive than that. We shouldn't forget that he played for Del Bosque in the greatest Spain team in history, which you've written at length about. He was part of that 2012 team. I mean, you'll know better than me, but he gets talked about as a World Cup winner. He was in that squad, but the participation was 2012, wasn't it? I mean, he was the right back.
Look, it was, and it's when I met him for the first time and when he inquired about our trade. He'd studied to be a journalist. He came across to me ahead of the Portugal semi-final and actually wanted to know, why is this happening? Why do you do that? What's this about? Very inquisitive mind, interesting, kind of articulate, likable fella at that time.
Well, I think that's one of the keys, that he turns on the charm, something that Xabi Alonso was never really interested in doing. Xabi Alonso couldn't give 2 hoots if you thought he was charming or not. Arbeloa actively wants to be liked by the people who are interviewing him and by the supporters and by the players as well. And he was very entertaining in the 2 interviews, talking about the old Anfield dressing rooms and how there was just one peg, and in the winter you had so many clothes that you couldn't get them all on the same peg, and talking about when Rafa Benitez told him you're going to be switching to left back because it's Barca next, and I want you marking Leo Messi, and he was waiting for the laughter, and it never came. They went away on a summer training camp before that game in Portugal. Played a bit of golf. Bellingham tried to play golf with John Arne Riis's head. It talks about being out on with Mascherano singing karaoke the night that happened, and being tucked up in bed when it did happen, as a good Spanish pro. But and he made a very interesting comment about when he arrived at Liverpool, how he found it far easier to get on with Mascherano at the start than he did with Xabi Alonso. He said Xabi Alonso is someone who looks you up and down and thinks, can I trust you or not? And you've got to win his trust. And obviously then they became great friends. So I think the personality will be massively different. And just tapping back into the Mourinho stuff, he will play Mourinho games. There'll be far more in for us. They've all got it in for us. The referees are against us. There will be a lot of that. And he will use press conferences in the way that Mourinho used to use them. Xabi Alonso hated press conferences, couldn't wait for them to end quick enough. He'll see it as part of the show. But Graham, he's going to have exactly the same problems as Xabi Alonso had.
Stop for a second before we go on to the football, Pete, because you've told us a lot about the guy who spoke to you and explained anecdotes and was charming in interview. And I don't want to fall out at this time in the morning, but the wheat flakes and the raisins are beginning to have their effect, and all the little synapses are popping. He talked about him not having Mourinho stamped on the back of his head, but he did stamp on David Villa in that 2011 Cup final without any worries about doing damage to his 2010 World Cup winning teammate, or the guy he'd share a dressing room with for Spain in a year's time in 2012. He fell out viciously with Gerard Piqué. He fell out really badly with Xavi Hernandez. Now, the classical divide is part of that, but he's also the guy who went and courted the then much more prominent ultras at Real Madrid, was one of them, was hailed by them as he retired. He's the guy who fought on the touchline with Fernando Torres when they were both in charge of Real Madrid Juvenil and Atleti Juvenil. This courting publicity, or courting being liked or turning on the charm, is a selective thing for Arbeloa, and he's can I link it? Is it the reason he's the coach right now? Because I think since he went to Real Madrid, he's been on a charm offensive upwards to Florentino Perez. President, there's nobody more dedicated to this badge. There's nobody who will sacrifice more for this club than me. Look, here I am, and it's borne fruit.
Well, we live in populist times, and there's plenty of populism in football. We see it all the time. We hear it all the time from coaches. And he's a populist. There's no question about that. And part of that will be saying what he knows people want to hear. I noticed that he sort of name dropped Luis Aragonés in his press conference. He knows that will go well. He'll play the Spanish card, and there's no doubt that's part of the reason he's got the job, because Florentino thinks he's a nice lad. But I think it will be unfair to him to say it's just that, because I think what he did with the under-18s, he very quickly leapfrogged Raul in terms of who they thought was going to be somebody who could end up coaching the first team. His mark is on some of the very few players have come through, but for example, Gonzalo Garcia, he has to take some credit for that. By all accounts, and we're not going to sit here and lie and say we watch them every week, because we're so busy watching various other levels of football and other leagues. But by all accounts, Castilla play well. They are playing obviously several levels down. But he's a good company man, and I thought it was sort of cutting and very telling when Butragueño sat down in Arbeloa's when Arbeloa's presentation. And he started saying, first of all, and I thought, okay, so this is the Xabi bit. You're going to say, I want to thank Xabi Alonso. And no, it was, first of all, I just want to talk about how wonderful Arbeloa is. And then a little bit later, there was a very brief mention of Xabi Alonso. So yeah, he's going to talk up the Negreira stuff. He's going to sing from Florentino Perez's song sheet. And you're absolutely right. That is part of the reason why he's been fast-tracked And by the way, I heard you and Jamie mentioned the other day, reference 2006 when Florentino walked away from the club. This is starting to smell a lot like 2006. Florentino is making mistakes. I was at that press conference. You were probably there too when Florentino Perez threw in the towel. He said that he'd spoilt the players, he'd confused them by spoiling them, and he walked away from the club. And he's making a lot of mistakes, and you've already mentioned one of them. Last night should have been Xabi Alonso in charge. You don't give your new man what was always going to be a huge potential banana skin, and he did that to Arbeloa.
Let's unify two things to close this section on Arbeloa. Saturday, 2:00. I mentioned last night as Albacete knocked them out. Saturday, 2:00 at the Bernabeu on this pretty poor playing surface whereby the ball rolls, but the studs slip, and it's the suspicion of the players that it's contributing to their injuries. It's Levante. Arbeloa, you were beginning to say, faces the same problems as Alonso does, and maybe, I think not, Pintus fixes this. My contention is that not only do they lack a controlling central midfielder, they lack somebody who's a unifying leader who's thinking about the team and the club rather than himself. There are players of big personality, but on the pitch and daily in training, I don't believe there's somebody who's laying down the law. Better still, a group, a hard nucleus of people who are laying down the laws, badge first, team first, victory first, everything else 17th. He's got to face that. He's got to face a situation whereby a hard nucleus of 7 international players in summer 24 had 6 days of pre-season and then a brutal season. And then in summer 25, all of them had 11, maximum 12 good pre-season days. A ritual that used to be 4, 5, even 6 weeks long during our working lifetime, and it is not any longer. Those effects, I think, are irreparable, in my opinion, between now and the end of the season. And if Madrid win either of the two competitions that they're still alive in, I'll be gently surprised. In fact, I'll be shocked in the Champions League, I have to tell you. When Arbeloa realises this, and while he's trying to close the gap, and good luck to him, he's been appointed, he's been a man of talent and achievement. Do you think we'll begin to see real scorched earth tactics to try and, like Mourinho did, to try and distract from what's going on? A lot of finger pointing. You talked about Negreira. The next game against Barcelona, unless the Champions League pairs them, is now not till May. What does he do to try and use sleight of hand and distract from the fact that you can't sort this issue out at Real Madrid quickly?
Yeah, first of all, Pintus doesn't fix Rudiger's knee. Pintus doesn't make Carvajal 5 years younger. He doesn't make Alaba 5 years younger. He doesn't stop Militao from this terrible injury record that he's got. So that I think solves very little, and I think you nail it with what you're saying about the Club World Cup in the summer. If you sat Florentino Perez down and said, "Okay, what's your team? What team do you want to see on the pitch?" He would say, "Right, we play 3-4-3. We play Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius up front. We play Bellingham, Vinicius, Arda Güler, and I'm missing one in midfield. Valverde in midfield. And Charmany in midfield. We play 3 at the back." Now, that's the team he wants. Like, just as back in the day, he wanted Zidane at centre-back so he could get all the Galacticos in the team. That team doesn't work. It doesn't work. You cannot... Güler, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Mbappe. You've got 5 players there. They all want to be starting. None of them, with the exception of Bellingham, are any good at an effective, intensive press. It doesn't work. So, okay, what does he do? Turn to the young players. I've read articles this week in Aston Marker about the players coming through. Thiago Pitart is apparently a very talented young midfielder. There's a guy called Cesar Palacios who's been likened to Benzema. But they don't help Arbeloa now. That's not the problem now. Has he got a right back? Has he got a holding midfielder? Sestero played last night. looked okay. David Jimenez has looked okay. You could make one criticism. You could maybe make a jab is he didn't use him more, which would release Valverde into midfield. But the fact that you've got 4 top defenders who are coming towards the end of their career in 3 cases and are all either injured or not properly fit, and you've got these 5 the 5 fantastics up front, and they don't fit in the same team. These are problems that are not going to go away. So, and he wants Vinicius to enjoy himself. But Brahim will be back soon, and he'll want him in the team as well. It's such a poorly balanced squad that I think they'll thrash Levante at the weekend. But I can see nothing else than a trophyless season.
Okay, look, moving on. This is the part where I have to say, support us, please. Tell people about us. For those that are watching this as a clip made by producer Jack, Hibs fan, so try to support him if you possibly can. I mean that historically rather than hysterically, because this season they're doing a lot better than the Mighty Dandies. If you support us and there have been several new subscribers in this new year, so thank you, all of you. £3.99 a month, 30 quid will take you all our broadcasts all the way through till just after the World Cup, Copa del Rey League, European competitions, the Spanish national team, Pete's expertise, my poor jokes, Jamie, the occasional star that we work with at the weekends in La Liga commentaries. Join us. Please tell people that you enjoy this and make sure that you support Revista de la Liga.